Autobots, roll out!
The new Transformers game is dropping later this year. This game is huge, 1,000 planets and star systems, and that's not even getting into the stuff you can do just in space, which is what we're going to get in today, plus ship combat. Let's go! Let me know in the comments what you're naming your ship. So let's first talk about that space navigation. Now, something that has been spoken about for a fair while is that you don't actually take off from the planets or land on the planets. It's like a cutscene transition, which is, I just think, a thing worth mentioning because, you know, it's something like a core part of like No Man's Sky or anything. There's a lot of comparisons there, but this is obviously a different game. But you will be able to land virtually anywhere on those planets just by clicking a place to land, and then you'll see that cutscene transition as you land. Now, star systems will have a required level, and this is an important distinction to make when you are navigating throughout space. Not only will they have a required level to say, you know, advise you whether you should go to that area, but in order to be able to plot a course to different star systems, you will require a particular grav drive plus a certain amount of fuel in order to actually make that star system travel to be ordered to get there. Now, fuel consumption and that like level requirement is going to be a progression method to sort of control where you can go in the early stages of the game. As you sort of get further, you'll be able to expand out a little bit further and upgrade your ship and that sort of thing. And as you can see on these screens during the direct, you can actually see the jump, which is indicating the jump required, the jump range, so your ship's actual jump range in terms of like the light years that it can go, as well as the distance, so how far to that location. You can also see the cargo hold, which is how much your ship is actually carrying. I'm curious whether this actually affects how much your fuel consumption is. Like, say if you've got like nothing stored in your ship, maybe you don't actually use as much fuel as if your ship is like full of contraband, you know what I mean? So once you have selected where you're going and whether you have to jump between multiple star systems or just the one in order to get there, you will need to power up your grav drive, which is how you make those jumps to light speed in order to travel to the different systems, right? So depending on how much energy allocation you have to the grav drive, it will either take a longer or less amount of time in order to actually trigger that grav drive effect. And we'll talk about energy allocation in a little bit. But while you are navigating around in general space, you will come across those random encounters, same as you would on the ground in like a Bethesda game. An example that I really like is the grandma that invites you over to have a meal, but there's also like big star yards that you can go and visit, as well as massive military fleets that you can go and explore inside those areas as well. They may have quests for you, they'll have people to talk to, or some other things that you may find out in the world, like traders, that sort of a thing. But there's plenty that happens just in space, right? Regardless of just combat. But let's talk about your own ship in space, right? So you've got your ship and you'll have multiple ships that you'll be able to choose from. But for you as a character, if you plan to spend a lot of time in space, it's also really important that you have skills that are beneficial to your actual space exploration. We haven't seen yet if there is like a clear sort of background or something like that that affects space and what it is. But my expectation is the long hauler background is going to be ship centered because of just the name of that. But there is plenty of skills, especially in the tech line, that are all related to not only ship combat, but just like ship stuff in general, right? So you've got payload in there, which increases your ship's storage capacity. You've got piloting, which we don't exactly know what it does, but it would make sense if it's something to do with like helping you control your ship, do maneuvers, that sort of thing. Sam Coe has both of these skills as a companion that you can recruit. Starship engineering, again, we don't know what that does exactly. Target control system, we do, which is basically like VATS for your ship, right? It'll allow you to disable certain parts of a ship. An example shown in the direct is that you can use it to take out the engines of a ship, and then the player can actually board them. So if you're looking to do some, you know, space piracy in that way, you would then need the targeting control system, take out the engines, board the ship, kill the people in there, steal their sandwiches, you know how it goes. Now, starship design is one that we see a brief snippet of in the trailer as well, which is required to upgrade your ship with certain ship components. Now, I'm going to have a separate video breaking down all the ship customization upgrades and stuff, because like I was going to put it in this video, but there is like so much of it and this video would go forever, so I've decided to split it out. But the weapon damaging skills are probably the main one that you want to think about, especially when we start talking about ship combat in a little bit. So there are multiple different weapon systems that you can apply to your ship, from ballistics to lasers to missiles to particle beams and the electromagnetic. These all have a matching skill in the tech line that is a various level of progression through, right? So ballistic seems to be the first one as it's at the top, and then the more tech points that you actually invest into this tree, you'll be able to get some of of the more advanced weapon systems, like say missile weapon systems or the particle beam systems, which is further down in that tech line. But it is also worth mentioning that your crew will be on your ship, and your ship does have a crew capacity, which you'll be able to change based on your ship customization. And those crew members that are assigned to your ship will also give skills and various buffs to the overall ship's efficiency, like we see in the crew roster screen, that these skills are actually in use based on their current assignment. So the crew members that you take with you, whether you find them in spaceports around the world or even companions, will impact your overall ship's efficiency as well as the way it runs based on their actual skills. Ship combat is going to be a massive part of this game, I think. Like, you're going to obviously be doing combat on the ground, but ship combat and space navigation is definitely going to be a big part. Now, during the direct, we see a lot of space combat as well as some dogfighting. We see lots of big fleets of ships and various sizes of ships and things that you can overall interact with and even just talk to. You don't have to engage in combat. Same as I guess you would like on the ground, right? You know, you're not going to fight everything that you come across, but you've got a lot of weapon systems at your disposal, and it all sort of really relates to that energy allocation system. So we may as well talk about that first. But when you're in your ship, you have this energy allocation system where you can apply energy to either your weapon systems that you have currently applied. Say in this example, you've got LAS for lasers, BAL for ballistics, and MSL for missile systems. And then on the other side, you've got ENG for engine, SHD for shield, and GRV for grav drive. So how you apply your energy will affect the overall effectiveness and efficiency of your ship. So in combat, you've got a decision to make as to how you want to apply that energy. So if you want to be able to, say, refresh your weapons faster to shoot more often, increase that fire rate, you'll put it into particular types of the weapon systems. Or if you, say, want to move better, fly faster, maneuver a bit more, you put it into engines. You want more protection or defense, you put that into shields. And then grav drive allocation will allow you to make that jump to light speed much faster. And we do actually see a shot of exactly that in the direct, where the player increases the energy allocation to the grav drive and it increases or decreases the speed to how quickly you can actually make that jump. So the weapons on the left side that you have three, it does seem like you'll only be able to have three particular weapon systems applied, but there is more than three. In a couple of the shots, we see like PAR for the particle beam systems or EM for the electromagnetic systems. So that left-hand side really is seemingly dependent on the weapon systems you've got applied, and then engineering, shield, and grav seem much more static because I don't really think you're going to be able to remove those systems from your ship. That seems a little weird. But overall, this energy allocation system is going to be crucial to your overall space navigation as well as your space combat, because it's going to be a decision you're going to have to make on the fly, right, in the middle of combat, to where you're actually applying that energy and how you're applying it to make your ship the most effective amount possible. I haven't been able to find exact confirmation of this, but if you have, let me know in the comments. But it seems to me that like logic would dictate that these different weapon systems are better at damaging different things to other ships. Say, for example, lasers would do more damage to shields, right? That makes logical sense to me, and it is definitely something that Bethesda would put into these sort of games, and it sort of mirrors the different resistances when you're fighting on the ground, right, to like ballistics, lasers, and EM. It sort of mirrors that in terms of ship customization, right? So I can definitely see that being there, but I haven't seen that as a concrete thing that's been announced. But it does seem like that would be something they would include, because it gives you've got all these different weapon systems you can use. They really should be using them in that sort of a way to be able to apply them, right? And you've got that laser, ballistics, missile sort of systems that not only would have different amounts of damage and fire rates, that sort of a thing, but definitely in terms of resistances, I think should be added as well. Now, a big thing that we see in the trailer, which is going to be something that's probably going to appear in a lot of videos about how you actually board ships, is the target control system. So we see the player applies this and they use it to target specific systems on a ship. And then a little bit later, we see the player has actually disabled the engine on a ship, because you can see on their health bar that the engine is red as if it's disabled, and then the player boards that ship. So if you're looking to board ships, that would be how you would do that, is by disabling their engine, and then they're stuck in like the, just the vastness of space. You can just pull up your ship, board them, kill them, take all their stuff. That's not all though. We do also see that the player can actually loot the remains of a ship if you do actually blow it up. So you will still get some sort of resources and materials out of that if you don't actually board the ship, but assumedly it'll be less, right? It seems like boarding a ship and using that sort of a mechanic, especially if you steal a ship and then you have to go take it back to a spaceport to register it to make it your ship, or even to sell it, which would seemingly be more of a late game thing. I don't think, you're just going to be able to bounce out of Constellation and go and steal another ship, right? That seems like that would ruin the economy, so I wouldn't be expecting that to be something you can do until much, much later in terms of your overall playthrough. The last last thing that I want to leave you here to think about, and something that I'm interested in your opinion in as well, is there are a couple of times where we see the players say roll up on a big military fleet where they've got this massive military freighter with like smaller ships around them, or even in dogfights with multiple different ships and different things happening around them, right? It would be interesting to me, especially with this crew like roster system, and how you can also, if you look at the ship customization screen, right, you can have 9 of your own ships and you have a home ship. I am curious, especially with the size that you can make your own ship, if you can actually control a fleet as well, like, or if you can have, say, you know, assign your companion to another ship that can like follow you or come to combat encounters with you. It's interesting to me, like we have seen no confirmation of this at all, or like if this is a thing that can be possible, but I am just very curious around how deep that system is, right? It seems highly unlikely that if you are going to engage like a massive military fleet with a giant freighter and like, you know, all these different starfighters with them, that you're going to be able to logically take them out yourself as one ship. Like technically, you know, you're obviously, you know, the biggest badass in this universe because that's how these games work, but that just seems like it's missing something to me. I feel like that's got to be something there, right? But I'm curious to know what you guys think in the comments down below. But thank you guys for watching this video till the end. Thank you to our members for supporting the channel. My name is Norza, and I hope you have a great day.